Has Ball State reached the point where he either has to make a major commitment on football to make it a bigger program or downsizing it? Just
Oh, I think they've already made that commitment, and I, as I said, a lot of trepidation going through and making this decision. But I feel that what Andy has done here in the past few weeks, and in my conversation with the president, and we had a meeting earlier this week on some of these things, and I firmly believe that they are going in the right direction. That there is no reason to step back. Anybody that thinks that way, I think, is kind of old age thinking, and that we need to progress and continue on. I mean, I want to be one of the first ones that come back here someday and see it completed. I mean, I would like to be here for that day and just know that I had a part in Ball State history and its football history, and hopefully in the institution as a whole.
When did you interview at Illinois? When did they offer it to you, and when did you decide to take it?
I just went over this past weekend.
Last weekend?
Yeah.
Is that like a
Sunday,
2-day?
Sunday and Monday, yeah.
And when did they offer it to you?
At that time.
Did you decide right away? Or
No.
When did you actually make the decision?
Wednesday noon. Really Tuesday night, and then I didn't sleep all night and woke up and had then that's after I had some conversations. I felt confident things were going to be in good hands if I left, and that's when I finally made up my mind. Until it was prematurely.
Are you still pretty sold on the decision?
Yep.
When did you tell the team?
When did I tell them, or when did they find out?
When did you tell them?
I told them at 4 o'clock, in which the way it should have been. But some people had different ideas.
You said your decision was made once you were confident that the program would be in good hands. I mean, I don't understand what you're saying.
Well, what I mean is that we were going forward in the right direction, that they were committed to completing the project out there, and that we were going to do everything we needed to do to be the best that we can be. That's what I mean. It was in good hands. That from the president on down, and I know Andy's commitment to that is. I mean, we've had several meetings, haven't we, Andy? Just a few, and each time I go away with the confidence that it's moving in the right direction, and that things would be done.
But what about the timing, Coach? I mean, you just signed your recruiting class. This is kind of like just all of a sudden. I mean, it seems just a bit odd, I would say.
Well, maybe it's. I guess it's the way it happens sometimes. It's not always the best, but I mean, I've known about the possibility, probably since the end of recruiting, and have, gone through my mind for a while, and I've tried to examine all the ramifications of this situation, and it's not easy. Giving up a head coaching position is rare these days, but as I say, under these circumstances, and as far back as Lou and I go, and we were young coaches starting out together, and our first year together we had a championship team at New Hampshire, and gee, maybe we can do that again. I don't know. It would be nice. But
have you been in contact with the recruits that you signed last week?
not yet, no. We're going to do that, though.
And when will you actually go to Illinois and start working for them?
Probably we have to work out some details on that, some things with, I have to make sure of medical coverage and things like that, which is very important to me and our family.
Coach, what kind of successor would you like to come in here and take over the program?
Well, I think that's, Andy's going to have to make that decision, and I mean, until something is done. I mean, Bob Bartolomeo, who has been with me and is a former head coach at Butler, has been my assistant head coach for 3 years, and he is. He's going to be taking care of things until they can name a successor. I mean, someone that knows the program and knows the kids. I think it takes us. Not that I'm special or anything, but I think it takes a special type of individual to come here and work and to coach at this institution, and because of its values and its things that are important, and I think that is a very important trait that I think is necessary. And I think this is a community that involvement is important, and I've encouraged all my coaches to be involved, and they are. Excuse me. They've been very actively involved in the community, because it's one, you can ask and ask and ask, but you have to give something too, and I think that's very important. And I think that's the kind of individual that's going to take to work here, and because a lot of great people to work with, and there have been some people that have been through my program that know it and are very good people, and hopefully maybe some of them will become candidates. I don't know what that remains to be seen yet.
Did you make any recommendations for a successor?
I've mentioned some to Andy, yes.
Limited to the ones on your staff or ones?
Well, I think
one outside the
that's
business?
for, we'll just leave it that way. We'll just leave it that way.
How about, will you take any players with you? What would be the situation if a player wanted to go with you?
Keep them here. They got to stay. That's not going to happen. There's always some of those. There's always. I told Bo when he came here, he wanted to get rid of Jamie Morris. I said I'd take Jamie Morris. Because he was one of those little freshman guys that did quite well, and of course he went on to be pretty good. And he said, "Yeah, you can take some of those deadbeat players with you, Schudel." And I said, "Well, I'll take Morris too, and I'll take a couple of the others." You know what I mean? No, that's not a factor in the thing.
Will you be involved in recruiting over at Illinois?
Next year, yeah.
Do we have anything else for Coach? Good luck.
Thank you. Well, I just want to say that it's been a very enjoyable 10 years, and I appreciate the support that Andy has given me in the short time that we've been together, and I really and sincerely look forward to working with her, and because I think we got along real well, and we would have made a good team to do things. But I appreciate everything that everyone has done here in Muncie, because it was very hard to do. Anything else? Thanks.
Andrea Segar, our Director of Intercollegiate Athletics, is also made herself available. So, Andrea, if you'd like to.
Is this your first day on the hot seat?
No, I've been on the hot seat, believe me, the last few weeks. I'm getting used to it now. No.
Would you tell us what you can about the time frame of the search? How it might be conducted, when you would like to see it.
I can tell you that I intend to have the search committee named by noontime on Monday. I've been making calls yet today and will over the weekend, and we're probably looking at between an 8 and 9 member search committee, and that search committee will start their work immediately.
Is there a target date for finalization or?
There really isn't a target date. We will list the position as open until filled, and the search process will begin immediately. I mean, obviously, I'd like to have it done as quickly as possible, but as thoroughly as possible.
Is it your hope to hire somebody with head coaching experience, or is that not necessarily a major factor?
It's not necessarily a major factor. Just depends on the individual and the circumstance.
You will not limit the search to inside the university or inside the...
No, we're going to do a national search. certainly, internal candidates will be given every consideration, but we will do a national search.
Are there any internal candidates that have made known to you that they'd like to be considered for the job?
I'm going to be meeting with the assistant coaching staff at 9 o'clock on Monday morning to just have initial discussions. But
So you haven't talked with any of those people face to face yet?
that's as much as I want to go into at this point in time.
How difficult do you anticipate the search being? I mean, especially considering the timing and all. I mean, a lot of staffs are already done their shuffling and hired new coaches.
Well, I think this is an attractive job, and I think, in fact, I'm anticipating well in excess of 100 applicants for the position. I would guess probably between 150 to 200 applicants. There's never a good time for coaching changes. Any time of the year is difficult. But as I said, I think it's an attractive job, and I think we will have a good level of candidates. We also have some very big shoes to fill in replacing Paul.
In your mind, what makes it an attractive job?
Partly because of the conference itself. I think it's a good conference to be in. We have a good balance academically, athletically. I think a person can come in. I know that there are concerns with regard to the stadium, but we're certainly going to put a great deal of emphasis on the football program due to a number of factors, and I think that makes an attractive job in itself. It's going to be an important part of our overall athletic program.
And how do you feel about the resignation of Coach Schudel, especially considering, I mean, all that you guys are going through at this
Sure.
point, and then
Well, it's certainly a very big disappointment for me, but Paul and I have had a number of conversations, and I understand why he feels the need to leave. But you don't need me to tell you what a great job he has done for the institution and the way he's handled the program. And so, of course, it is a disappointment, but I wish him well, certainly.
You've hired coaches before. At any of those times that you use the search committee, or most of them?
I generally use a search committee just because I think it's good policy to have a broad-based group involved in the process. I think it's healthy for everyone. And I'd also like to make a comment about players. I normally do not put players on search committees, but we will have the players involved, as I always have involved with search committees. We generally do that at the point at which we begin to interview. And that whether we have captains or we have 2 to 6 players involved, whatever, we will do that at the point of interviewing because I think it's important for them to have input.
How much would you like Paul to be involved in this, either from input or from any other aspect?
Well, I think Paul has a lot more to concentrate on right now, and certainly I respect his opinion, very highly. But I think he realizes that he's taken a new position and he needs to get in gear and start going with that job.
Did he make any recommendations to you as far as a coach?
Well, we've had discussions about it, certainly, and I think that's good. As I say, I respect his opinion. So.
Have you had, I mean, it's already happened, but these things get out pretty quick. Have you had calls already about the job?
Yes, I've had some and I've made some.
So you have some people in mind?
I don't have a short list today.
Is there anything else?
Where are the plans stand right now as far as what to do with the stadium?
Well, as Paul mentioned, we've been having some discussions about that type of thing. I think we've had in the last week or so some positive things come about with regard to the stadium. I think there's a general understanding at this point in time that there's a sense of urgency about doing something with the stadium. We've talked for a long time, over 10 years, during the course of Paul's tenure, about improving the stadium. But again, we have some sense of urgency now, and I think I feel very confident that we will begin to get things accomplished out there. Mm-hmm.
Is that it? All right. Thanks. Thank you.